Yeah. Yeah. It's always like these horrible experiences in life that you grow the most from, that you learn the most from, right? If there was something, if there are any lessons, lack of a better word, right, that have come out of this, what is that for you?
Yeah, there are quite a few for us,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think what Dr. Asha said is so true. And our first and foremost lesson was to educate ourselves with issues faced by our teenagers. As I said earlier, it was at some level, we were also part of that culture of not my kid, not Asian problem sort of stuff. And that happens whether they are LGBTQ or whether they come out as LGBTQ or they're feeling like that or whether mental health related. So if the child comes to us for help, I think we have that tendency too. Again, I mean, I don't want to really sound cocky or somebody who is trying to give, uh, sermons to anybody else, because I have no such expertise and I'm a failure as a mother in some ways. But I would say that I thought I learned the hard way that just because my child is coming to me for help, I should not just try and resolve, because that's my natural instinct to resolve their problem. Instead, try and acknowledge and validate their feelings even before I start jumping into resolving it. Sometimes they just need that acknowledgement and validation. It's quite difficult for us. We learned it the hard way, as I said. We were uh, aware of the teenage angst and teenage pressure, but we did not understand fully their identity crisis and the mental health crisis before it hit us. Once we found out about it, we did everything we could to given our knowledge at that time. Based on what we know now, we believe, and I think Dr. Asha alluded to that same thing, we believe Shiv has been feeling like this for some time, and and probably a lot of kids are in that bracket as well. So early intervention is the key. As parents of young kids, we wish we were more educated about teenage mental health, LGBTQ identity. As a family, we talked about all these other topics we didn't talk about self-care as much as we should have. Kids sort of compare themselves, with and compete actually with their peers in different areas. It runs like the gamut across like academic success, sporting success, physical appearance, social success, you name it. The reality is every kid will not meet the stereotypical perfection for all of these areas. They will be falling short of one or the other area, and they will be exceeding in something, or some kids would be just okay in everything. But that acceptance of everyone as they are will be so beneficial for our kids if we can somehow inculcate in that them. Our kids would find, like every kid probably would find somewhere or the other on this, on this particular spectrum, for the lack of word. I mean, I know spectrum can mean different things, but just on that. Mm-hmm. But as parents, we need to, normalize this understanding and nurture that empathy and acceptance towards others. If we do it, the kids would understand it at an early age and they will get that. We need to create that inclusive environment at home so the kids feel loved irrespective of who they are. The confidence and resilience that we would build will help them if they find themselves falling short in one area or the other, or in the scenario they are lucky to be perfect on all counts. They will be socially responsible and strong allies to their friends who might not be conforming. Next is probably understanding this mental illness, it's a disease. Just understanding that it's a disease. It should be treated as a disease. We tend to have that concept of, oh, you are feeling depressed. It's, you have everything under the world, and how can you be feeling depressed? It's not how they are feeling it. That's it. It's like having diabetes, cancer, COVID. The worst thing about mental illness is there is no obvious test, but it still is a disease. And it's important to recognize as a parent and get help for the kids if there is. Sometimes we are very apprehensive about the medication part of it. And I get it, because we were there as well. And the risk of over medication is so much talked about, which is possible. But if our kids are suffering, we have to go and get the professional help. That's what we would do for anything else. Why not for this? We should do our homework. We should do the research, for just like we would do for any other health issue. We can get multiple opinions. If one doctor says medication, you can get 3 opinions and then decide, but don't ignore it, saying it's a teenage angst and they really need to get out of it. We should not be really medicating our kids. It will not resolve by itself. If it needs medication, it does need it. On the school front, I guess we need to push for the inclusive education at an early age. That just the understanding of inclusive education is so important, so that our kids feel accepted everywhere. I have put myself in my son's shoes so many times. Once Shiv came out, I constantly thought about it, and I've caught myself watching a movie, talking about it, reading books, and I realized this society and this world is so heterogeneous, heterosexual specific, that we don't even realize that somebody is feeling like, what am I doing here? They are feeling out of their, they feel so uncomfortable in their own skin, and it comes because of that. So unless we don't try to change that for our kids, and we don't know which kids are going to be falling under LGBTQ umbrella and which won't, we don't have to wait for that. Just do inclusive education. They just have to, they have no way of asking questions, getting, legitimate. There is no legitimate source of questions for those kids, those early age, people who start thinking about it. So it's a paradigm shift for most of us, especially most of us heterosexual parents. We don't want to, as South Asians, we don't want our young children to be exposed to the concept of LGBTQ very early on, thinking that, oh, we are better off not talking about it because we don't want to give ideas. But in reality, that's not so. Nobody is going to get ideas about being LGBTQ or having mental health issues or feeling suicidal. That's like the biggest myth, and we need to address that. They will not become anybody unless they are so. Yeah. So that's something we should really think about. And lastly, for everyone's sake, I think we need to shatter this stigma around LGBTQ identity and mental illness. Open discussions, acceptance will help us and our kids as a society. After Shiv, I found more resources that could have been helpful to him. Every single day, I think about that. I wish I knew these providers, facilities before, but due to our reluctance to show our pain, due to the stigma around what is everybody going to think around these topics, I didn't openly post on a Livingston Facebook page saying, asking for a mental health professional, recommendation, specializing in LGBTQ community depression. I couldn't call anyone because I myself didn't do it. I can't really say that to other people, but I didn't do that. So, for our kids' sake and society's sake, let's break this silence and address the issues head on. I think that's the least we can do at this point.
Well, you're doing that tonight, right? You're breaking the silence. I just want to read some of the comments, just a specific one. So proud of you, Shilpa, in all of your kindness. You're sharing such a personal part of your life just for the benefit of all our children. Shiv will be a shining star and always be a part of our life. You're right. Everything that you said was right. I mean, the one thing that I just want to say from my own opinion, not to dismiss yours, you are not a failure in any way. You are not a failure. You are a fantastic person, an extraordinary human being, and you are a great mother. Say amen, Asha. You agree?
Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen, amen, amen. You know, what Shilpa was talking about is like, breaking the stigma, talking about the silence. Shilpa has talked about how she and Vishwas went and found all the help. They sought out Desi Rainbow, other organizations to go get help. In our community, this is huge, right? Because we have South Asian, Desi folks that are watching all over the world, right? And we all live secretly. We live secretly in the closet about ourselves, about our children, about our mental health issues. We don't go and get the help. What is that? Why is that? What problems does this lead to? Talk to us about that, Asha.
I've had a lot of time to live in this skin, in my own brown skin. As I'm from South India, I'm from Kerala. And I've lived in this country almost 50 years. So I've had a lot of time to reflect. And my own theory is impression management is in our DNA. What do other people think? How do we impress? And we impress each other culturally. And by the way, this is a huge issue when you have mental illness with LGBTQ. Three things. From the time you're in the womb, you hear three things. You got to make money. That means you study and you make money. It's in the womb. You already get the ching ching sound. Then immediately you got to get married. It's actually a heterosexual marriage. And not anybody. I mean, there's like a matrix you have to follow. Third, you got to make babies. This is told to us from our womb. It's in our DNA. So if you can't make the kind of money that everybody else is making, and if you can't have a marriage, which is a heterosexual marriage that's successful, and if you can't make regular babies, you are not impressing anybody. You are a failure. Now, you may think I'm exaggerating this. I've had a lot of time to think about this. Any event you go to in our culture, they're talking about how much money they make, who they married, and how many babies they had. So like if you only had one girl like I did, I'm really a failure because I produced a girl and I only have one child and I don't have a boy. This just goes on. What this does is it literally kills our LGBTQ youth. It kills them. We are silently killing them by these values. I know I'm being very strong, but
Sure.
this. Now I know you think we don't talk. This is what we are all about. So the reason, I know why you didn't put it in the Livingston Facebook. You're not going to make a good impression by asking for help for your gay son. Let's be honest. Shilpa, I'm not blaming you.
No, I totally am with you, Asha, on this one. Totally, like 120%.
And so what it does is we live duplicitous lives when we can't make money, when we can't marry, and when we can't make babies. If we have children like that, we go silent. And this is painful for families. It creates toxic loneliness. It takes isolation. Then you put on top of it, we are brown-skinned people.
Yeah.
We have to take that into consideration. We got to morph, and do all this to belong to the predominantly white community, and we break people. So I'm on a campaign that we have to whisper in utero a different thing. It's not about making money, marrying, and making babies. It's about loving and living and learning. That's what we want to whisper into the womb. So I am on a campaign. I may be a little too late because I'm old, but that's the campaign I'm on.
You are not old. Another message, Shilpa, it takes a lot of courage to come out and talk about this. You desire to help other parents by creating awareness about this problem, which is after brush under the rug. Very true. There's a question I wanted to ask you, Asha, that the audience has posed here. How do we change a parent's mindset about not only about LGBTQ, but also the stigma about being brown, immigrant, and the social status, which is huge, right? Because you just talked about it, is that there is a stigma and it's layered, right? So if you are a woman, if you are an immigrant, if you are poor, for example, right, in the eyes of this capitalist societies that a lot of us live in, right, and you're queer, how do you break that? Like, what do our community members who we're talking to right now, right, what do we do to break that?
I want us to engage in a different vocabulary, redefine what success is. Okay? I believe, Shilpa, both of you were incredibly loving parents. Okay? You didn't have the tool to figure out, how do you introduce this early on? Redefine success. Redefine even what love is. Do we only love conditionally? When you do A, B, C, D, E, do we love unconditionally? And this is very important. How do we create a sense of belonging when we don't meet the matrix of our culture? And I think what Shiva felt very much, even though you did the trip to Brooklyn and did this, he couldn't find a place where he could belong. So the belonging, redefining success, some of the people that are so-called successful in our community, because I am a therapist and also I'm an Episcopal priest, are some of the most unhappy people. They're very unhappy. I want us to have a different language. And when we are around the dinner table, be very careful what we talk about. All my parents ever talked about is so-and-so got into Cornell and so-and-so got into Penn and so-and-so got into this and they bought a big house. And I could feel as a 10-year-old, I was not going to make the mark. I could feel it. I could redefine success. This is a very, we have to change our language, change what we talk about on the dinner table. And then big, big, big thing. I believe we as Desi and South Indians, we are a fairly anxious and depressed people. All of us have mental illness. We should just do group therapy on a regular basis. I believe we can. No,
you're right. You're right.
Let's pick on, that's what Shiv had, a diagnosis. We are troubled. It's okay. I'm sort of laughing with you, and I'm not trying to be funny here. Let's all be brave in how we go get help. Let's all be brave. This particular medication was a little bit more effective in the serotonin. This was a little bit better for my obsession compulsion. And I'm doing better. How are you doing? Let's talk about that transparently. Okay, let's talk about that. There's nothing wrong in getting help and becoming whole. And if I could tell my daughter, Priya, when I was in my 20s, I was struggling. I didn't get into medical school, and I really had to go get help. And she said, "Oh, Mom, you went for therapy? What do you think I'm doing to her at a very young age?" I'm normalizing. When you are sinking, you learn how to swim by getting help. Instead of talking about Ivy League, we should be talking about mental health. And I'm going to stop there.
Okay. Very good. We have one of Shiv's friends joining us, Siddharth. Siddharth, can you join us?
Yep. Hi.
Hi, Siddharth. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Where are you? Are you in New Jersey?
What'd you say?
Are you in New Jersey?
Nope. I'm just in my hoodie.
Okay. Siddharth, so you and Shiv were close friends.
Yep.
Right? Is there anything that you want to say about your friend Shiv?
Yeah, I have something to say.
Go ahead. The floor is yours, buddy.
Thank you so much. A very good evening to everyone tuned in. My name is Siddharth Sanjeev, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. As many of you already know, I have started this fundraiser in support of Desi Rainbow parents and allies in support of the LGBTQ plus community. It's called Sid for Shiv. Just to give you a bit of a background of how the idea of Sid for Shiv took place, I will talk to you about it now. Shiv and I have known each other since we were practically babies. We were classmates since kindergarten. Shiv was one of the brightest kids in my class. He would help me whenever I ran into problems with any subject. This could be math, science, social studies, anything basically. I am very good at math today, and I can easily say that I owe part of this success to Shiv, who would help me with basic understandings of math concepts. This year, I decided to pay it forward, and every single week at the Livingston Public Library, I tutor fifth graders at no cost. This holiday season, I, with the help of Mrs. Rao, the founder of Desi Rainbow Parents and Allies, started the Sid for Shiv initiative as another small tribute to Shiv. I plan to do this fundraiser every year during the holiday season, so our dear Shiv is never forgotten, and so we can each support the LGBTQ plus community. For so many of you that have so generously and promptly contributed to Sid for Shiv, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your help will go a long way in supporting Desi Rainbow Parents and Allies help all those in need. For those of you wishing to contribute, no amount is too small, and every penny will go towards this very important but hardly spoken about part of our Desi community. I would like to end with a few words to Shilpa Auntie. Auntie, you are one of the most courageous and kindest people I know. Your advocacy for the needs of so many vulnerable people after having faced such a huge personal loss must take so much strength. Your dedication reminds me of a line from the book, The Fault in Our Stars. Grief does not change you. It reveals you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank you.
You are, go ahead, Shilpa. You want to say things?
No, I can't even speak.
Thank
you very much, Sid. Yes,
Yep.
and as Sid said, Shiv and Sid, they were together since kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I applaud you, Sid, for doing this for your friend. And I promise you that we all, you, Desi Rainbow, all of us, we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that we keep the memory of this child alive and share the stories of his life and the meaning of his life is going to live on for years and years and years to come. But what an awesome person you are and what a good friend you are, Sid. Really, really, really impressed. Really impressed. Asha?
Sid, are you putting that on the website, how people can contribute?
Yeah, I put it on the website. Yeah, I made like a flyer. So I shared that flyer and many people are like donating the money.
Okay. I'll look at it. Thank you for your words that how you ended, that grieves always reveals who you are. And I am just getting a window of who you are. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem.
So just to add, if you want to contribute to the Sid for Shiv campaign, and I hope that you do, and any dollar amount counts, you can go to desirainbow.org/donate, or you can Zelle is it Zelly? Is it, I don't know how to pronounce it. Sonia Sanjeev at 201-574-3062. It'll be on our website, it'll be on our social media. Please do contribute. How beautiful, how beautiful.